Right. Well, good morning, everyone. Uh, Administrator Watson, is it okay to get started? Should I wait a couple of minutes?
I think we are good.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the May 2nd, 2024 MLAC meeting. I am Patrick Priest, Management Co-Chair and chairing the meeting today. It's my pleasure to do so. And welcome, everyone. As we do with each meeting, I wanted to read an affirmation that our Scott Strickland, the Labor Co-Chair, and I agreed upon to start each meeting. I want to thank everyone for their time, effort, and participation in our work before us today. I want to recognize that it is very difficult and important work, and I appreciate and value the perspectives and professionalism that everyone brings here today. Thank you. I will turn it back to you, Administrator Watson, to do a roll call.
Okay. Sarah Merrick.
Morning.
Good morning. Scott Strickland is not here. He may join us later. Margaret Weddle is not here today. Sarah Duckwell. Hi, Sarah. Ryan Hearn is also not here today. Stacy Llewellyn.
Good morning.
Morning, Stacy. Patrick Priest. Hi, Patrick. And Kim Schlesinger. Good morning. And Director Stolpe.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Okay. Right.
All right. So we do not have a quorum, but we can have our meeting. So thank you very much for taking that roll call. With that, we'll move on to our first agenda item, which is public comment. And is there anyone that would like to speak before we get started with our agenda? I guess I can look through the participants. I see no hands raised. We have 34 people online. All right. All right. With that, I will thank you for considering speaking and move forward with our agenda. The first item after that is reviewing the minutes from the April 4th meeting. We do not have a quorum, so we cannot act upon them. But did anybody have a chance to read them and have any comment on the minutes?
I think I read them with no comment. Thank you.
That we will move forward to department updates, and then I will turn it back to you.
Okay. And we're going to have a presentation from the board today. I'll turn it over to Lauren.
I cannot hear the speaker. I don't know if perhaps Ms. Hufford is muted or.
Go ahead, Lauren.
Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Co-Chair Priest. Thank you, members, for having me today. I do have a brief case update. So in October, some of you may remember I did a case update on a board decision called Michelle L. Nolden, which involved a worker requested medical examination. In April, there was an update in this area from the Court of Appeals in a case called Titleman versus Safe. And just very briefly, to avoid any confusion, this case has a different title at the board than it had at the Court of Appeals. So at the board level, this case was called Thomas S. Cardoza. Sadly, the worker passed away while the appeal was pending with the court, and a personal representative was appointed to continue the appeal on behalf of the worker. So that's why it's at the court level called Titleman v. Safe. So just to clear up any confusion about that. Next slide, please, Baba. Thank you. Okay, so just as a refresher, a worker requested medical examination is an examination that is paid for by the workers' compensation carrier, and it's performed by a doctor selected by the director of DCBS. So under statute and administrative rule, a injured worker is entitled to a worker requested medical examination if 3 requirements are met. So the first requirement is that the worker has made a timely request for hearing on a denial of compensability of their workers' compensation claim. The second requirement is that the denial is based on a report of 1 or more independent medical examinations. And the third requirement is that the worker's attending physician or authorized nurse practitioner does not concur with the independent medical examination report or reports. Next slide, please, Baba. So the Titleman decision deals with the second of those 3 requirements. That is whether the denial is based on 1 or more independent medical examination reports. So the board has several decisions on this requirement. Julie Dellinger is one of them, Thomas Cardoza, and then Michelle L. Nolden, which I presented on in October. And those 3 decisions stand for the proposition that a denial cannot be based on an independent medical examination report unless that report preceded the denial. So in, next slide, please, Baba. Thank you. So in Thomas S. Cardoza specifically, the worker had a workers' compensation claim for a low back injury, and the carrier denied that claim. After the denial, a independent medical examination was performed, and a report was issued that did not support the compensability of the claim. So at the hearing before the administrative law judge on the denial, the carrier submitted that report as evidence to support its denial. Next slide, please, Baba. Argued to the board that he was entitled to an independent, worker requested medical examination as the carrier was relying on the post-denial independent medical examination in support of its denial. And therefore, the denial was based on that report. Now, the board disagreed, again, holding that because the independent medical examination took place after the denial issued, the denial could not be based on the independent medical examination report. Next slide, please, Baba. Appealed that decision to the court, and a couple of weeks ago, the court reversed the board. The court determined, looking at the text and context of the worker requested medical examination statute, that that statute did not limit entitlement to worker requested medical examinations to circumstances where the IME report preceded the denial. And in doing so, the court really focused on the purpose of the independent or the worker requested medical examination statute is to provide the worker with an additional medical report where the existing reports are in non-concurrence. The court highlighted that that purpose would be frustrated by this distinction between a pre-denial independent medical examination report and a post-denial report, particularly where the carrier later relies on a post-denial report in support of its denial. So ultimately, the court held that where a carrier submits a post-denial independent medical examination report as evidence at the hearing regarding its denial, that denial is based on the independent medical examination report, and the second requirement for a worker requested medical examination is satisfied. Please, Baba. And that is all I have for today. Are there any questions?
I don't see any hands raised and no one is speaking up. It was very well stated. Thank you. It was very clear.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the Workers' Compensation Division update. I'm just gonna say one quick thing. Next week, May 9th and 10th, the Workers' Compensation Educational Conference will be held at the Holiday Inn in Portland, the Columbia Riverfront. And the conference is designed to enhance understanding of the workers' compensation system and improve processes and services that affect injured workers and employers. Who should attend? Employers, attorneys, safety and health, human service managers, insurers, self-insurers, third-party administrators, claim closure, service providers, insurance agents, injured workers, union representatives, medical providers, service providers, staff members. Lots of people should attend. Anyway, if you want to go, it's still open on our website. Please look at our website and feel free to register. If you have any questions, Jennifer Ladd is the person that you should contact. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Director Stolpe.
Thank you, and good morning again, everyone. Glad to be with you this morning. I've got two updates to share. First, around our WCD administrator search. I've talked about this before, of course, with Sally's retirement. There's a need to find a new administrator at WCD. Matt has stepped up as the interim administrator and has been doing a great job, I think, the last couple of months. But as I've shared before we even start any type of search or recruitment, we wanted to get some feedback from staff and stakeholders on generally the work that we're doing, what we do well, what we can improve, as well as what type of leader and administrator everyone's looking for. So we've been meeting with WCD staff, so with every staff member in small groups over the last 2 months or so. We being Sean O'Day, he's the deputy director, DCBS deputy director, and myself. So we've been meeting and going through staff, getting some really great feedback on everything we do and could do better. I've already been making some or giving some feedback for some small improvements, a lot on technical stuff, IT issues. That's probably a common issue across every organization. We're also organizing some stakeholder meetings and are trying to schedule meetings with the MLAC co-chairs to get feedback from MLAC as well. So those should be set up pretty soon. And I think that was the suggested way to get feedback, so then the co-chairs can gather feedback from the caucuses and then provide that to us. But if any individual MLAC member would like to meet, we'd of course be more than happy to do that as well. So to anyone else who's listening who would like to provide feedback on, again, what we as an agency do well, what we could do better, and what you'd like to see out of the next administrator or leadership in general, please send me a message. Be happy to talk. Please try to do that in the next couple of weeks. We've had a vacancy for a while and want to figure out what to do next pretty soon. So if you'd like to share any information at all or feedback, or even just ask questions, please reach out to me, Terry, however you want to get a hold of us, you can, and be glad to talk. There's no question. All right, not seeing any hands or questions. So the last thing I wanted to do is actually introduce someone. Bryant Campbell is there, and I'll turn it over to him in just a second. But Bryant is the first ever director of our new Office of Equity within DCBS. So we as an agency have had a DEI program, a pretty robust kind of enterprise leading DEI program for many years. Veronica Murray had been our DEI program manager. She's retired, so she's still kind of helping out within DCBS and in one of the other divisions, but has at least semi-retired. And we took that as an opportunity to re-examine how we're approaching issues of equity, and have created a new office as a way of kind of reorganizing some of the ways we're doing things within the agency. So Bryant came to us from Business Oregon, where he had a similar role for many years and has been in state government for 23 or 24 years. So it's a quite seasoned expert. We do have a starting point for a vision of the Office of Equity, which is really a way to further embed and modernize our DEI and equity efforts across the agency, both internally and externally. Yesterday was Bryant's 1-month anniversary, and him and I have been spending a lot of time kind of further fleshing out what that means. What is the Office of Equity and exactly what will it be doing? And we're putting together, a kind of a charter mandate vision statement, for the office that will then be, sharing for anyone that wants to provide feedback on. So lots of exciting work ahead on this. I'm really excited to have Bryant here. And with that, I'll turn it over to him just to say hi real quick as well.
All of you today. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Good deal. Just wanted to greet all of you today and thank you all for so many people and the warm welcomes that I've had over the last month and getting to know lots and lots of people. It's exciting to be here and to continue this good work that's happened here at DCBS and to grow the Office of Equity. We're in the process of staffing out this office and hiring some administrative support and just doing lots of good work. But I just wanted to say hello this morning and let you know that I'm a resource for you if you need me. I'm here on the second floor, down in the director's wing down here. And so you can stop by and see me, or you can send me an email, give me a call. I just want to make sure that the Office of Equity is the best resource that DCBS can have. And I'm excited to continue to build up this work and to re-envision how we can do equity and take it to higher heights and deeper depths here. So just wanted to say good morning to you all and thank you for allowing me to join you.
Thanks, Bryant.
Well, I see a hand raised from Sarah. I also have a question for Bryant. Might be the same one. I'll let you go first.
Do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
No, you go first, Sarah.
Okay, thank you, Co-Chair Priest. Thank you, Bryant. I appreciate the introduction and thank you, Director Stolfi, for that. I just wanted to note that I don't want to put you on the spot, but we have DEI training next month and would love for you to join us if I can extend that invitation, Co-Chair Priest.
I was going to ask the same thing, or like how you would be involved with that, if at all. So, if
Great,
you
I'd love to.
and maybe you don't even know we're doing that, but our next meeting is a DEI training.
Well, I'd love to be involved however however I can be and participate at whatever level that you have. I'm sure you have a good training already planned, but let me know, touch bases with me if you need some input or just inviting me to attend. I can do that also.
Yep. And I'll support Bryant in joining that, and I'll connect him with Terry and others to make sure he can be there and join the program.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Very timely introduction. Welcome, Bryant, and thank you, Director Stolfi. I appreciated your update and your openness to our input as key positions like the WCD director. So thank you very much. Are we done with that update? And then it's on to your next item, I guess, Terry.
Yes. This morning I emailed out the legislative survey summary. So everybody should have received that. We can go over it or just summarize it. I received 7 surveys back. I don't think there was any surprises. I think it was the new process that MLAC has come up with has been great. The videos, the legislative guidance document. As soon as the legislative calendar comes out, I believe it's in September, then I can schedule the meetings for the next legislative session. That was one of the feedback. Some of the feedback. I'm trying to think of anything else. Are there any questions, or is there any feedback, any additional feedback that you'd like to provide while you review the summary?
I had one one of the statements here resonated with me a bit was that this is, we asked for a lot you know, but we also would like people prepared when they bring legislation before us. But there was a comment that for, you know, well-seasoned lobbyists, that's no problem. But if it's somebody that maybe is new to this and has a good proposal, that would there be room for flexibility? And I don't know the answer to it, but I thought that was an interesting comment that I don't know, resonated with me.
And I believe in the past when, and I don't know, I think Teresa's on the call as well. She can maybe speak to this better. I don't have the history as much as she does, but I think when ideas come forward, you know, I think that people work together so that, you know, it's not a daunting process, I believe. And this is just what I've heard. I can't speak to it because I wasn't involved. I'm trying to see it. Oh, there she is.
Here.
I think you're on mute. There you go. Okay.
Okay. I was going to say, so Co-Chair Priest, yes, to follow up on Terry's comment, yes. When we hear of a concept, we work with each legislative champion, maybe a legislator or an individual staff person or a trade association with seasoned lobbyists or individuals. So for those who are not as familiar with the legislative process, we walk them through this. We walk them through the MLAC process as well. Any questions that they have, they can answer. So that's kind of when my dual hat of when I was MLAC administrator of being, you know, our DCBS's legislative liaison, that's where it comes in handy. Also too, if they have questions about just how to connect with the legislative committee, we would provide that information as well. So I think our goal was to provide equal access and equal opportunity for advocacy, no matter what level of expertise they have.
Wonderful. Thank you for that response. I think also, you know, overall the comments, Terry, are generally positive. You know, I don't think there's any additional changes that are proposed to anything. And is there anything you need more from us in terms of feedback or comments, or we'll just keep this in place through the next legislative session and reevaluate again after that?
That's what I'd like to do if you're okay with it. And then let's see after 2025 how things go.
Anyone else have a comment? I don't see any hands raised. I think we were all pretty involved with creating it. So I think we're on board. All right, well, we'll move on then to the next item on the agenda, which is the 2025 WCD legislative update from our interim director, Matt West.
Good morning, Co-Chair Priest, members of the committee. Matt West, the interim administrator here at the Workers' Compensation Division. Just wanted to give a high-level update of what we're looking for the 2025 session. We met, I think, back in January, and there were some questions as far as what WCD was proposing. We've been working internally for the past 6 to 8 months on our legislative agenda for the 25 session, and recently have been given permission to start sharing the concepts and discussing them. So MLAC's our first stop, and just to set the expectation, high level overview, kind of what the concepts are, and then we're going to do some targeted outreach, meet with our stakeholders, and then come back later in the year with, following all of the legislative guidelines that MLAC has put forth. So I don't have all of that prepared today. It's just to kind of give you a heads up and then answer any, if you have any questions related to the concepts. So the first concept, we're going to put forward 2 concepts in 2025. The first concept is related to ORS 656850, which is the worker leasing statute. So Oregon's worker leasing law was enacted in 1993 and doesn't reflect changes to industry practice or improvements in technology. In case you weren't aware, WCD is the licensing body for worker leasing companies, so we license them. Kind of the main issues that we were running into with the outdated provision is the definition of worker leasing may not reflect modern industry practice. And then there's also paper-based reporting coverage changes that make it labor intensive on worker leasing companies and the division when they're reporting coverage for their clients. And then also the coverage provisions in statute aren't compatible with the use of multiple coordinated policies, which is a different reporting model that the division would like to explore moving towards. It would be easier to track and share coverage data for clients. So there's kind of some of the main issues we've been running into. So our legislative concept proposes updating the definition of worker leasing company to be more consistent with modern business models. Updating reporting requirements to allow insurers to report coverage changes via EDI or electronic data interchange, as opposed to paper-based reporting for worker leasing client coverage. And then also update coverage provisions to close some potential existing gaps, and then allow, at least for the discussion of if we want to move to the multiple coordinated policy model. So we believe making these changes will decrease the likelihood of coverage or licensing disputes, and then reduce administrative burdens both on worker leasing companies and the division, and streamline reporting processes for worker leasing companies. And just to be clear, you probably all remember during the February session, there was a bill related to worker leasing companies, or more commonly known as professional employer organizations, or PEOs. In that bill, there were discussions about things with Department of Revenue and Employment Department. Our concept, because we're the Workers' Compensation Division, our concept is focused on just workers' compensation coverage and the reporting requirements, and then the licensing of worker leasing companies. So that's sort of high level. Happy to answer any questions at this point. Like I said, we will come back later this year with more detail in answering the legislative guidelines, and then also plan on meeting with stakeholders. So if any of the members are interested in meeting to sit down and discuss in more detail, we're happy to set those meetings up as well.
Well, that sounds good. I don't see any hands raised. I know I appreciate the advanced information, and it follows, I do recall us discussing, similar issues in this last session. So I appreciate that, and I look forward to at least the opportunity to participate in those conversations you're talking about. So thank you very much for that update.
Great, thank you. And like I said, we have two, so I'll give just a brief update on the second proposal. This one is related to the lump sum payment permanent partial disability awards. So you may recall last fall, a Court of Appeals decision was issued related to when a worker requests a lump sum payment of their permanent partial disability award, or PPD. So as the law is written, if a worker's award is, their permanent partial disability award is over $6,000, it's paid out in monthly installments, but the worker has the right to request that in one lump sum if they waive their right to appeal the adequacy of the award. And then the decision came out that said, even if they waive their right to appeal the adequacy award, if the award is not final by operation of law, which is 60 days after the notice of closure is issued, the insurer can deny the lump sum until that 60-day time frame passes. So our proposal is to, the solution that we're recommending is to change the statute to say that the worker's entitled to lump sum payment of PPD if they waive their right to appeal the adequacy of the award, or if the award is final by operation of law. So kind of an either or, as opposed to both of those having to be, those criteria having to be met.
Okay. Any questions on that one from those present? Hear any? Again, I appreciate the advanced notification. We'll be looking forward to what comes during the legislative session. It'll make the work during that time a little bit easier, and we sure appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And just as I mentioned, so next steps, Terry's going to start reaching out to a number of stakeholders. So if there's anybody else on the call that's interested in meeting with us, we want to sit down with anybody who's interested in discussing. And then later this summer, the concept to go over to the Legislative Council, who actually drafts the bill language. And then once we have that, we'll come back to MLAC and discuss it in more detail and hopefully look for support of the committee. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good job. Well, that is the end of our updates. We have a work plan update where we'll talk about our next trainings. Our next meeting is our in-person meeting. We're having, is it quarterly in-person meetings or twice a year? I don't remember.
Well, we kind of got that wonky when we did the in-person training. So June 6th is our DEI training here at 260. July meeting is canceled, and then we have an August 1st training here again in 260.
Okay.
So I just want to give a bit of an update. After this meeting, you'll receive an email, and it's for your lunch. So I'm going to send out an email, or Baba will, one of us will, that will give you, pick your lunch, what you want for lunch that day. So it'll come to all MLAC members. And then you need to fill that out and get it back so we can get your lunch. So what will happen is we'll have our normal MLAC meeting on June 6th, and then our lunch will come about 11 or so, and then we'll have a break during that time. And then the trainer should be here at about noon. I'm meeting with them in the middle of the month, and then we're kind of going over the training schedule. So that's the DEI training. And Sarah, I did want to let you know I have reached out to our data people and asked for the mental health data. And so I'm hoping to have that by June, so you can review it before the August training on mental health crisis, or mental health 101, the work comp data. You're welcome. And we're also going to ask them, we asked them to look at the presumption that came into effect in 2019, so we can have a look at what happened with work comp claims prior to the presumption and what is happening after. And that presumption was related to
PTSD.
yeah, it was PTSD and first, what's it called? First aid. First responders, exactly, yes. Okay, so we should have that completed before, or yeah, on the June, I should have that available for you on the June 6th meeting, so you have time to review it before the August 1st meeting. Let's see. Okay, so those are the two updates for those meetings. The offsite meeting, that planning is going right along. I've talked to our people here. They can make the travel arrangements, or you can make the travel arrangements yourself if you need to stay overnight, and report them on the TEDS form that you normally submit for travel when you come to that meeting on the 10th, or you can turn it in after that meeting. So I will send that out a little closer to the meeting, the TEDS form with how you fill out the travel accommodation and the per diem for the day and all that information a little closer to the meeting in October on the offsite meeting. I also just want to give a shout out to our stakeholders. They have been helpful in giving me names of businesses and employers and workers that to contact in that area. So I have a great list of people that I'm contacting to come to that offsite meeting. So thank you to OBI and AGC and some of the other AFL-CIO have given me a list of people. So hopefully we'll have a great participation at that offsite meeting. So, that's all I have for an update, Patrick.
All right, well, thank you for that. The meeting has zipped along at record time, which is, I don't think anybody's complaining. We can have more agendas, items if anybody has anything else to bring forward. I call for any other discussion. Here of any other? I know I personally, and for my own company, am working with Oregon OSHA put out a event, a safety break, which is next week on May 8th. And so that's something that just in my own company I'm working on. I just make a shout out since we're a workers' comp related entity. And that is it. Since we're ending so early, I think I will call for a motion to adjourn. Is anyone willing to make that motion? We can't vote on it, but I just want to make sure nobody finds that we end so early.
I move to adjourn early.
Thank you, Stacy.
I'll second, or for what it's worth.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, with that, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. I look forward to seeing you in person in June. So thanks. All right, bye.